Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Kennedy half dollars. But not just any halves. These are the ultra-rare, jaw-dropping pieces that could turn an ordinary pocket find into a life-changing fortune. Imagine holding a coin you thought was only worth 50 cents, and realizing it could be worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. These coins carry secrets, hidden errors, and incredible stories that have stunned collectors for decades. Stick with me, because each coin we uncover will be rarer, more valuable, and more shocking than the last. Our very first treasure on this list is the 1988 Kennedy half dollar, and at first glance, it might not look like anything special. After all, millions of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. In fine condition, it's easy to dismiss this coin as just another pocket piece. But here's where things take a shocking turn. Most people don't realize that by 1988, the Kennedy half dollar had already faded from everyday use. It was minted in large numbers, yes, but very few people actually used them in daily transactions. That means many were stashed away in rolls, mint sets, or collections, and today, the difference between a circulated example and a pristine survivor is staggering. The obverse shows John F. Kennedy's bold profile, with subtle details in the hair and face that wear down quickly in circulation. On your 1988 coin in fine condition, those high points are softened, the luster is gone, and the fields show handling. But imagine the same coin struck sharply, preserved in flawless mint state, with every hairline visible and dazzling cartwheel luster radiating under the light. That's the kind of coin collectors fight over, because top-graded examples are nearly impossible to find. And then come the errors, the true jackpot. The 1988 Kennedy halves are known for a handful of dramatic mint mistakes, off-center strikes, double dies on the obverse, and even rare planchet errors where the coin was struck on the wrong metal. These errors can catapult values from a few dollars to tens of thousands, shocking even seasoned collectors. One dramatic double die obverse has fetched well into the mid-five figures at auction.so. Let's talk value. A 1988 Kennedy half dollar in fine condition like yours might only trade for around $1 to a few dollars to casual collectors. But climb the scale and the story changes. A gem mint state coin, graded Ms. 67 or higher, can bring thousands. And when you cross into the world of rare errors, we're talking jaw-dropping numbers. Certain off-metal errors from this year have been documented selling for over $75,000, and a perfect top pop-graded 1988 Kennedy half, in the highest condition known, could command a six-figure price tag, shocking anyone who thought these modern halves had no value. Think about that. A coin most people overlook, a year no one pays attention to, suddenly becoming the centerpiece of a major collection, selling for more than the price of a brand new luxury car. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's a reminder that every year, every mint mark, every small detail matters. The 1988 Kennedy half dollar is proof that treasures can hide in plain sight. And remember, this is just the beginning. If you think the 1988 is exciting, wait until you see what's coming next, because the values are only going higher and the stories more unbelievable. Now, moving on, our second coin on this incredible journey is the 1985 Kennedy half dollar. At first glance, it may seem almost ordinary, maybe even dull to some collectors. After all, the mid-1980s were not known for big minting surprises, right? Wrong. The 1985 Kennedy half dollar hides secrets that can shock even experienced numismatists, and in the right condition, it can deliver jaw-dropping values that few would ever believe possible. Picture this: your 1985 half in fine condition. The luster is long gone, the fields are dulled, and the high points of Kennedy's hair are worn smooth. This is the kind of coin most people would toss into a jar and forget. But that simple little coin is part of a much bigger story. The 1985 halves were struck at both the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, with no half dollars made for circulation in San Francisco. Most were distributed in bankrolls, but the truth is hardly anyone used them in day-to-day spending. They vanished into drawers, cabinets, or were overlooked entirely. Now here's where it gets exciting. The Philadelphia strikes, marked with no mint mark, often came out with weak details and poor strikes, making sharp, fully detailed examples very difficult to find. Denver, on the other hand, usually struck better coins, but still, finding a perfect survivor after nearly 4 decades is extremely rare. In lower grades like fine condition, the coin is common, but in high mint state, especially Ms. 67 and above, we're talking about coins that almost never surface. That rarity and condition alone pushes collectors into bidding wars, and then come the rare errors, the real treasures. Some 1985 Kennedy halves are known with dramatic die clashes, where the obverse and reverse designs pressed into each other by mistake, leaving ghostly images across the coin. There are also off-center strikes, partial collars, and the occasional double die that turns a simple Kennedy half into a holy grail. Imagine a coin struck slightly off-center, with Kennedy's profile sliding toward the rim, or a double die that makes the lettering appear shadowed. These errors can elevate a 50-cent piece into tens of thousands of dollars instantly. So, what about the value? Here's the shocking truth. A circulated 1985 Kennedy half in fine condition like yours might only sell for 50 cents to maybe a couple of dollars, but a gem uncirculated example, certified at the highest levels, can bring in $5,000 to $10,000 or more, depending on the grade. And if you stumble across one of those dramatic errors, we're not just talking thousands anymore, we're talking $50,000, $100,000, and in some documented cases, well over $250,000. That's right, a coin you could mistake for pocket change could instead be worth more than a house payment, a luxury vacation, even a brand new car. And let's not forget the collectors themselves. The Kennedy series is one of the most passionately collected in U.S. coinage. Every small detail, every year, every variety matters to someone out there. That demand is what fuels these insane auction prices. Imagine 2 or 3 determined collectors, all desperate to own the best 1985 Kennedy half known to exist. The price doesn't just climb, it explodes. Think about it for a second. The coin in your hand, worn and overlooked in fine condition, might not seem like much, but out there, someone is hunting, someone is paying, someone is ready to spend shocking sums for the right example. That's the thrill of numismatics. It's a treasure hunt that never ends. And here's the best part, we've only just started. 2 coins down, and we're already talking values soaring into the 6 figures. If that doesn't give you chills, just wait, because the next Kennedy halves on this list are going to blow your mind even more. And before we continue, make sure you subscribe to us Mint Mysteries, because you don't want to miss the coins still to come, each one rarer, each one more valuable, and each one more unbelievable than the last. Next up, we step back 2 decades earlier to a coin that carries not just history, but silver. The 1968 Kennedy half dollar. Right away, you should feel a little thrill, because unlike the later dates we just covered, this one wasn't made of simple copper and nickel. By 1968, the United States Mint was still striking Kennedy halves in 40% silver, a fact that gives this coin instant appeal to collectors and investors alike. Your coin, in extra fine condition, shows off plenty of the original detail. Kennedy's hair still has separation in the strands, the cheek and jawline retain their sharpness, and the reverse eagle still shows feathers and details in the shield. It has clearly been circulated, but it hasn't been worn down to nothing, which makes it the kind of coin many collectors love to find in old collections or estate sales. Now, let's put this in perspective. 1968 was the very first year the Denver Mint struck Kennedy half dollars, with the famous D mint mark appearing just below Kennedy's neck. No Philadelphia issues exist for this year. That tiny D makes the coin immediately recognizable, and to some collectors, it's a symbol of the end of an era. Because remember, just a few years earlier, Kennedy halves were struck in 90% silver. By 1965, the Mint had reduced that to 40%. And by 1971, silver was gone completely. The 1968D is one of the last chances for collectors to hold a true silver Kennedy half. But here's where the excitement really begins: the rare errors. Some 1968 Kennedy halves were struck with double dies, most noticeably on the reverse in the lettering United States of America and half dollar. These doubled letters can be dramatic, and collectors pay staggering amounts for strong examples. There are also rare off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even coins struck on defective silver planchets, creating odd-shaped rims or missing detail. When these show up at auction, the prices are shocking. So let's talk numbers. In extra fine condition like yours, the 1968 Kennedy half is worth a bit more than its silver melt value, maybe around $6 to $8, depending on silver prices and collector demand. That might not sound like much, but the story changes dramatically when we climb into higher grades. Uncirculated examples, especially those graded Ms. 66 and above, can bring in hundreds of dollars. Top-graded specimens Ms. 67 or Ms. 68 have crossed the auction block at over $15,000. And the rarest error coins? That's where jaws hit the floor. A strong double die or a dramatic off-metal error from 1968 can fetch over $100,000 at auction. Imagine that a half-dollar most people think of as silver bullion suddenly commanding six-figure bids from desperate collectors. This is why the 1968 Kennedy half is so beloved. It's not just a coin, it's a bridge between eras. It connects the silver coinage of America's past with the clad coinage of its future. It marks the moment when collectors realized, hey, these aren't just pocket change anymore, they're treasures worth saving. And here's the shocker. Many people alive today still have 1968 halves sitting in drawers, passed down from parents or grandparents, forgotten in rolls, or sitting in dusty old jars. If one of those turns out to be a high-grade gem or an error, it could change someone's financial future in an instant. 3 coins in, and the values are climbing higher and higher. We've seen overlooked modern halves jump into the 6 figures. And now we've hit the silver era where rarity, history, and collector passion collide. And trust me, the next coin we reveal is going to push the excitement even further. Moving forward, our 4th coin is the 1977 Kennedy half dollar, and at first glance, many would shrug this one off as common pocket change. After all, by 1977, the Kennedy half had been stripped of its silver content, struck in a copper nickel clad composition, and was produced in the tens of millions. But here's the truth hidden in plain sight. This year carries some surprises that can turn a 50-cent coin into a breathtaking treasure. Your coin, in extra fine condition, shows the story of circulation. Kennedy's hair still carries visible detail, but the high points have softened. The cheek, jawline, and eagle's feathers on the reverse are worn down, yet enough detail remains to show its beauty. To most people, it would blend in with any other coin from the era, but collectors know better. They know 1977 is a date with quirks, rarity in condition, and shocking auction records. Here's the first twist. While over 43 million were struck in Philadelphia and nearly 32 million in Denver, finding flawless survivors is incredibly difficult. Most went straight into circulation and stayed there, rattling around in jars and drawers, never saved in mint rolls the way earlier silver halves were. That means pristine, uncirculated examples are much scarcer than the mintage numbers suggest. And then there are the errors, the true jackpot. The 1977 Kennedy half dollar is notorious among error collectors for dramatic misstrikes, off-center, strikes that shift Kennedy's portrait to the very rim, double die reverses that make the lettering appear ghost-like, and even rare wrong planchet errors where the coin was struck on quarters or foreign planchets. Some of these bizarre pieces have shocked collectors at auction, fetching values you wouldn't believe. Let's break down the numbers. In extra fine condition like yours, the 1977 half dollar may only bring $1 to $3, not much more than face value. But climb into higher mint state grades, and the picture changes dramatically. Coins graded Ms. 66 can reach into the hundreds. At Ms. 67, you're suddenly talking about thousands of dollars, and the top-graded specimens, Ms. 68, have brought in over $10,000. But it doesn't stop there. Add in a dramatic mint error, say a 50% off center strike, or a strong double die, and the value can rocket into the $50,000 to $150,000 range. Yes, a clad Kennedy $half from 1977 can outpace the value of rare gold coins in the right circumstances. Now, think about that. The 1977 $half, often ignored, often overlooked, sitting forgotten in change for decades, could be hiding one of these rare conditions. It's a coin that reminds us why we keep looking, why we search rolls, why collectors still examine every detail with magnifying glasses. Because the moment you spot one of these hidden rarities, everything changes. This is the thrill of the hunt. A coin that cost 50 cents in 1977 could be worth the down payment on a house today. It's a story of overlooked treasures, of rarity born not just from mintage numbers, but from condition, errors, and sheer survival. 4 coins in, and the values keep climbing. From silver history to shocking modern rarities, every step has pulled us deeper into the hidden fortune inside Kennedy halves. And believe me, the next coin on this list will make your jaw drop even further. Now, we arrive at our 5th coin, and this one marks a turning point in American coinage history. The 1971 Kennedy $half. At first, it might look like any other worn $half you'd find at a yard sale or tucked away in a coin jar. Your coin, in fine condition, has clearly been handled. The shine is long gone, the fields are flat, Kennedy's hair and cheek show heavy wear, and the eagle on the reverse has lost much of its feather detail. To most people, it looks like 50 cents and nothing more. But here's where the shock comes in. This coin is much more important than it seems. 1971 was the very first year the mint struck Kennedy halves without any silver. The 40% silver issues ended in 1970, and beginning in 71, all $half were copper nickel clad. That means this coin is the very first of the modern era, a starting line for every clad half struck after. For collectors, that makes the 1971 Kennedy half not just another coin, but a piece of numismatic history. But here's the real kicker. With over 155 million minted in Philadelphia and more than 300 million in Denver, it seems like these coins should be everywhere, yet finding high-quality survivors is shockingly hard. Most went straight into circulation, bounced around for years, and ended up looking just like yours in fine condition. That's why truly uncirculated examples, especially those with sharp strikes, are far rarer than the mintage would suggest. And then, of course, we get to the errors, and the 1971 Kennedy half is a legend in this department. This year saw one of the most dramatic and valuable mistakes in U.S. coin history. The rare 1971D struck on a leftover 40% silver planchet. Imagine that, a coin that was never supposed to exist. Most Kennedy halves that year were clad, but a tiny handful accidentally got struck in silver. These rare pieces have stunned collectors, with some selling for well over $100,000 at auction. Beyond the silver planchet error, there are also double dies, off-center strikes, and broad strikes, each capable of multiplying value into the tens of thousands. So let's talk numbers. In fine condition, like yours, this coin might only bring 50 cents to $1. But that's only the surface story. Move up into gem and circulated condition, and suddenly, you're looking at hundreds to thousands, especially for top-graded examples. And if you're lucky enough to hold one of the rare 1971D silver planchet errors, that's not pocket change anymore, that's a six-figure payday, the kind of coin that makes headlines. And think about it, this is a coin everyone has seen. Millions of people have handled a 1971 $half at one point or another. Yet, almost no one stops to look. Almost no one thinks about what it might really be. That's where the treasure lies, in the overlooked, the ordinary, the coins that hide in plain sight until a sharp-eyed collector spots them. 5 coins down, and already we've crossed into some of the most exciting territory in the Kennedy series. Each one carries its own story, its own shock factor, and its own potential to deliver life-changing value. And believe me, the next coin we're about to uncover is going to keep this ride going even higher. Next up, Our sixth coin takes us right back into the silver era, the 1967 Kennedy half dollar. Now, at first glance, a 1967 half in fine condition not look very impressive. Your coin shows wear across Kennedy's cheek, jawline, and hair. The eagle on the reverse has lost much of its fine feather detail, and the once bright shine has dulled with time. To most people, this looks like an old 50-cent piece that might be worth $1 or $2 because of the silver. But the truth is, the 1967 Kennedy half hides secrets that can transform it into a jaw-dropping treasure. Let's start with the basics. By 1967, the United States Mint was still producing Kennedy halves in 40% silver. These coins were not struck for circulation at banks in the same way as earlier years. Instead, many were distributed through special mint sets, which means truly well-preserved examples are rare today. And remember, this was during a time when Americans were hoarding silver like never before. Most 1967 halves were set aside simply for their metal content, not for condition, which is why so few survived in pristine form. Now, here's where it gets exciting. The 1967 half is famous for some of the most dramatic mint errors in the entire series. Double dies exist, especially on the obverse, where the date and lettering can appear shadowed. Off-center strikes are also found, some so dramatic that Kennedy's portrait is nearly cut in half. And then there are rare planchet errors, where the coin was struck on the wrong metal or on an undersized blank, creating bizarre, collectible oddities. These mistakes have sent collectors into bidding frenzies, with prices soaring far beyond expectations. So let's break down the values. In fine condition, like your coin, the 1967 Kennedy half might only be worth around $4 to $5, just above its silver melt value. But when we climb into higher grades, the picture changes fast. Mint state examples, coins that have survived untouched, can fetch hundreds of dollars. In gem condition, especially Ms. 66 and Ms. 67, the values rise into the thousands. But the real shock comes when we add errors into the mix. A strong doubled die or an extreme off-center strike from 1967 can bring in $50,000 or even more. And in rare cases, extraordinary specimens have crossed the six-figure line at major auctions. Think about that for a moment. A coin that most people dismiss as just silver could instead be worth more than a brand new luxury car. And the fact that so many 1967 halves are still sitting in old collections, tucked away in boxes or forgotten in drawers, means the possibility is out there. Anyone could stumble across one of these treasures without even realizing it. And here's a chilling thought. Every 1967 half you see has the potential to be one of those hidden rarities. All it takes is the right condition, the right error, or the right grading certification to transform 50 cents into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. We've now reached the halfway point in our journey through ultra-rare Kennedy halves, and the stakes just keep getting higher. Silver, errors, rarity, and unbelievable values. And believe me, the next coin on this list is going to raise the excitement even more. Now, for our seventh coin, we arrive at the 1972 Kennedy half dollar. And this is where things get really wild. At first glance, your coin in fine condition looks like the kind of half dollar anyone might toss into a change jar. The shine is gone. The high points of Kennedy's hair are worn smooth, and the eagle on the reverse has lost much of its detail. In this condition, most people would swear it's worth no more than 50 cents. But the 1972 half dollar holds one of the greatest secrets in the entire series, and if you have the right one, it could be worth an absolute fortune. Here's the story. In 1972, Kennedy halves were struck in massive numbers, over 150 million in Philadelphia, and nearly 150 million in Denver. But that's not what makes them special. The magic lies in a small group of errors that slipped out of the mint. And not just ordinary errors, we're talking about the legendary 197-D no FG variety. On the reverse of every Kennedy half, you'll see the eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, with a tiny set of designer initials, FG for Frank Gasparo, tucked near the eagle's tail feathers. On some 1972D halves, those initials are completely missing. Whether due to over-polished dies or striking issues, the no FG variety is one of the most coveted errors in modern coinage. Collectors go absolutely crazy for them, and the prices they've reached are almost unbelievable. But that's not all. There are also double dies from 1972, off-center strikes, and rare planchet errors that push this coin even higher. Each of these mistakes turns what looks like pocket change into a collectible powerhouse. Now, let's talk value. In fine condition like yours, a regular 1972 Kennedy half is only worth about 50 cents to maybe $1. Nothing to write home about. But let's move up. A standard 1972 in gem mint state can bring hundreds, sometimes over 1,000 if it's the very best. But here's the jaw dropper. A 1972D no FG error, especially in mint state, can fetch $10,000, $20,000, and the rarest, top-graded examples have soared to over $100,000 at auction. That's right, a coin most people would overlook could instead pay for a new car or even a down payment on a house. Imagine someone searching through rolls of half dollars, spotting that tiny missing FG, and realizing they're holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. That's what keeps collectors on the hunt. It's the thrill of knowing something extraordinary might be hiding in the most ordinary of places. And remember, this is not ancient history. These coins are still out there. Millions were struck, but only a handful carry these incredible errors, which means the odds are slim, yet the payoff is staggering. That's what makes the 1972 Kennedy half one of the most exciting coins in the entire series. 7 coins down, and the values just keep climbing higher and higher. Each discovery more shocking than the last, each story more unbelievable. And, trust me, coin number 8 is going to raise the stakes even further. Our 8th coin brings us to the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar a year that many collectors overlook, but one that hides incredible surprises. Your coin, in fine condition, has clearly seen circulation. The details in Kennedy's hair are worn smooth, the cheek and jawline are flattened, and the eagle on the reverse has lost much of its feather detail. To most eyes, it looks like nothing more than pocket change. But the truth is, the 1973 Kennedy half can be one of the most valuable in the entire clad series. Here's why. In 1973, the mint did not release half dollars for general circulation. That's right, none were sent to banks for everyday use. Instead, they were only issued in mint sets and proof sets. So any 1973 half you find in circulation today made its way there by accident, either broken out of a set or released by someone who didn't know what they had. That makes every 1973 Kennedy half scarcer than the millions of other clad halves floating around. But it doesn't stop there. Among 1973 halves, the real treasures are the San Francisco minted proofs. Struck in limited numbers, these proof coins carry deep mirror-like fields and sharp frosted devices. But sometimes the mint made mistakes. A small number of proof halves from 1973 show dramatic double dies, where the lettering on "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" looks shadowed or double. Even rarer are errors where the coin was struck off-center or on the wrong planchet altogether. These spectacular errors can send values into the stratosphere. Now, is talk money. A 1973 Kennedy half in fine condition like yours? Only worth about 50 cents to $1 to most people. But climb into uncirculated territory, and things change quickly. Regular 1973 mint set coins in top condition can bring in hundreds. Proof coins graded PR69 or PR70 can sell for over $1,000, but the jaw-dropping values belong to the errors. A dramatic double die, or an ultra-rare 1973S struck on the wrong planchet, can soar into the tens of thousands. Some examples have crossed the auction block for over $75,000, and here's the kicker, because 1973 halves were never released into circulation, many people don't even think to check them. They assume every Kennedy half is common. But if you happen to come across a 1973, especially in proof condition, you could be holding one of the rarest clad halves ever made. It's a date that proves once again that rarity doesn't always come from mintage numbers alone sometimes. It comes from how coins were distributed, saved, or forgotten. So imagine this. Someone cracks open an old box of mint sets inherited from a family member, flips past the pennies and nickels, and suddenly realizes that the 1973 Kennedy half inside is a top-graded specimen worth more than a luxury vacation. Or worse, imagine someone spending one at face value, realizing it could have paid for a new car. That's the kind of story that gives collectors chills. 8 coins in, and we're deep into the most shocking finds the Kennedy series has to offer. And we're not done yet. Coin number 9 is going to raise the bar even higher. Now, we come to our 9th coin, the 1979 Kennedy half dollar. At first glance, your coin in extra fine condition looks like nothing more than pocket change. The luster is gone, the high points of Kennedy's hair and cheek have flattened, and the eagle on the reverse has lost some feather detail. Most people would dismiss it instantly. But the 1979 Kennedy half carries secrets that can transform this common-looking piece into something worth a small fortune. Let's start with a bit of history. By 1979, the half dollar was no longer a coin of daily use. Few Americans were spending them at stores, and banks were reluctant to order them. Most halves went straight into circulation bags or sat in vaults, which means they weren't being saved in pristine rolls like coins from the silver era. That makes high-grade survivors, especially in the top mint state categories, much harder to come by than the mintage numbers suggest. But here's the real twist. The 1979 Kennedy half is famous for a handful of dramatic mint errors and varieties that send collectors into a frenzy. The most notorious is the no FG variety, found on some 1979D halves. Just like the legendary 197D no FG, these coins are missing the tiny initials FG for designer Frank Gasparo on the reverse, near the eagle's tail feathers. This error was caused by over-polished dies, and it transforms an ordinary half into a highly desirable rarity. Collectors pay jaw-dropping premiums for strong examples, and that's not all. Off-center strikes from 1979 exist, some so dramatic that Kennedy's portrait is cut in half. There are also broad strikes, clipped planchets, and double dies that create shadowed lettering. Each of these mistakes can launch the value of a 1979 half into the stratosphere. So what about value? In extra fine condition like yours, the coin might only fetch $1 or $2 from casual collectors. Nothing special, at least at first glance. But in uncirculated condition, the value starts to climb. Mint state coins graded Ms. 66 can bring hundreds, and Ms. 67s have sold for thousands. And the rare no FG variety? That's where the fireworks happen. Depending on grade, these coins can fetch $5,000, $10,000, even over $25,000 at auction. Add in a dramatic mint error, say a major off-center strike, and the price can explode past $50,000, even approaching 6 figures for the rarest examples. Imagine that. A coin everyone dismisses, sitting unnoticed for decades, suddenly revealed as one of the most valuable modern Kennedys in existence. That's the kind of discovery that keeps collectors searching through rolls and jars. And here's what makes it even more thrilling: these errors aren't always obvious. The missing FG can be tiny, easily overlooked by an untrained eye. That means someone could hold one of these treasures in their hand and never realize its true value. Until, of course, a sharp-eyed collector steps in, and then the shock sets in. 9 coins down, and the suspense is reaching its peak. From silver history to shocking modern rarities, the Kennedy half series has delivered one surprise after another. And now, we come to the grand finale. Coin number 10. Trust me, you're not going to believe what's next.